Monday, January 18th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski. It's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and many area businesses and schools are closed today for the holiday. We'll be talking later about one local event coming up this afternoon that will honor Dr. King's legacy. But we're also following the area's top news stories today, including a vicious attack on two Norwalk youths following a basketball game in Stamford. We'll bring you more on that later. Rob Adams will also have the latest in local sports and weather, and Donald Ang takes a look back on this day in history. But first, on to some of the stories we're following today. Monroe police are looking for suspects that allegedly robbed teenagers at gunpoint last Thursday. A Monroe resident was out walking his dog in the area of Abbey Lane and Sweetbriar Lane shortly before 8 o'clock at night, January 14th, when he came across two youths that reported they had just been robbed at gunpoint. The victims described the suspect as black males wearing dark clothing and hoodies covering their heads. One male described as 5 foot 3 inches tall with an average build, and the other male was approximately 6 feet tall, also with an average build. The victims were walking home from a friend's house when they were approached by the suspects from behind. One of the suspects displayed a handgun, and the youths were ordered to the ground and told to empty their pockets and hand over their backpacks. Suspects were seen leaving in a small dark sedan. Detectives are continuing with that investigation, but they're asking anyone with information regarding it to please contact them at 203-452-2839. North Haven police say a young wife was killed after getting into an accident while riding an all-terrain vehicle in North Haven. The 23-year-old West Haven woman struck a tree around 1 p.m. Sunday in a wooded area near the North Haven and Wallingford town line. Investigators say the woman was ejected from the vehicle. She was riding ATVs with her husband at the time of the crash. WTIC-TV reports the accident occurred adjacent to the Quinnipiac River in the sand pits between Dodge Avenue and Tolles Road. Paramedics treated the victim at the scene and transported her to an area hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. And in Trumbull, late Sunday morning, a 3-car crash spilled fluids all over White Plains Road. Trumbull Volunteer Fire Company reports that at about 11:55 yesterday, Trumbull Center Fire was dispatched to White Plains Road at Twitchgrass Road for a motor vehicle accident fluid spill. All occupants were able to get out of the vehicles, and fire crews applied a substance to dry up the spill and then left the scene in the hands of Trumbull police. The state has approved permits for 3 new medical marijuana dispensaries, 2 in Milford and 1 in Waterbury. Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection Commissioner Jonathan Harris said currently there are 8,228 medical marijuana patients registered in Connecticut. Dispensary facilities are the only places in the state that may legally dispense medical marijuana to those registered patients. To register with the program, a patient's physician must certify that they have one of 11 approved conditions and that the potential benefits from the palliative use of medical marijuana are likely to outweigh the risks. Harris said with the addition of these 3 new dispensary facilities, the state's medical marijuana program will be better able to meet the needs of 1,941 patients in Fairfield County and the 2,141 patients in New Haven County. The new dispensaries are Arrow Alternative Care on West River Road in Milford, Caring Nature on East Aurora Street in Waterbury, and Southern Connecticut Wellness and Healing on New Haven Avenue in Milford. All are expected to be ready to begin serving patients by the early summer. And an Easton woman pleaded guilty last week before U.S. District Judge Stephen Underhill in Bridgeport to 1 count of wire fraud stemming from her theft of more than $250,000 from her employer. 47-year-old Dawn Minneberg of Easton admitted that she charged more than $250,000 in personal expenses to her corporate credit card. She used the money for clothing and other items purchased at high-end stores, including theater tickets, children's parties and lessons, charitable donations, vacations, and the purchase of an $11,000 jungle gym. According to court documents and statements made in court, Minneberg worked for a company in Greenwich. She provided financial services to the company and was issued an American Express corporate credit card for business purposes. As part of her duties, she prepared expense reports justifying the charges to all the corporate credit cards, including her own. Minneberg used her position to hide her expenditure of these corporate funds for personal items, categorizing them as office supplies, meetings, and other things related to the business. Underhill scheduled her sentencing for April 8th. She faces a maximum term in prison of 20 years. And Trumbull firefighters were able to quickly extinguish a structure fire that seriously damaged a home on Sunnycrest Road last Friday morning. At about 11:45, firefighters were met with heavy conditions in the home. Units worked to quickly extinguish the blaze in about 20 minutes. Monroe and Stepney fire departments also responded to assist at the scene, while Shelton Fire Department provided station coverage. 3 firefighters were treated for minor injuries. The fire is currently under investigation by the Trumbull Fire Marshal's office. And in Ridgefield, the first week of the new year brought a particularly aggressive Internal Revenue Service scam to town, with residents complaining to police that the supposed IRS caller was threatening them with arrest. One person said the supposed IRS person told her there was a warrant for her arrest within 2 hours. According to Police Captain Jeffrey Kreitz, the scammers call taxpayers claiming to be IRS officials and demand the person pay a bogus tax bill. He said the callers will usually request that the victim pay the bill with a prepaid debit card or a wire transfer. The scammers may use threats of arrest and bullying tactics in an attempt to get the victim to pay. The police remind the public that the real IRS will never call you to demand immediate payment. You can also get more tips and information on that at theridgefieldpress.com. We're going to throw it over to Rob Adams now for a look at today's weather. Rob?
All right, Kate, good morning, everyone. A partly sunny day with a high near 29 and wind chill values between 10 and 15. The wind also a factor. You probably woke up hearing it. It's from the northwest at 15 to 17 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low of only 15. Wind chills between 5 and 10, and the west wind from 11 to 14. To Tuesday, mostly sunny, high near 28. Wind chills between 0 and 10. My gosh, northwest wind from 13 to 18. We're going to gust as high as 29. Tuesday night, mostly clear, low 17. More of the same wind chill. Still some wind around from the northwest from 10 to 15. Wednesday, sunny and 34. Thursday, mostly sunny, 33. So we get a slight break later in the week. 30 is the high with a sunny day on Friday, and a glance down through the weekend. I see a chance of 37 on Sunday. But keep in mind, Friday night and Saturday, we could have snow, and it could be significant. We will see. Keep you posted. Around the region right now, we have Trumbull at 24, Monroe at 25, and right here in Shelton, at 24, 25. Shelton's 23. Why not? Back to you, Kate.
All right, thanks so much, Rob. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to give you more information on that vicious attack following a basketball game in Stamford. Of course, Donald Lang is going to join us to take a look back on this day in history, and Rob will have the latest in local sports coming up after this.
Had a sports injury that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist quickly. Their highly trained orthopedic professionals expertly treat you without an appointment. Skiing, snowboard, or sports accident, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk. Call 203-845-2070 or coastalorthoexpress.com. Find them on Facebook at Coastal Ortho CT.
Darien Sport Shop is a unique store because it's a family store. A busy mom can come in with kids in tow and find everything she needs for them, and even find a dress for herself for Saturday night. And if she's in a rush, she can simply go home and order it from us that night. We'll deliver it the next day. The Darien Sport Shop. We're pretty on the outside and amazing on the inside. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
Discover the Wilburton Inn in Manchester, Vermont, a 30-acre historic estate featuring a turn-of-the-century mansion with elegant inn guest rooms and 7 large private vacation homes, perfect for ski vacations and holiday celebrations. Special offer on select rooms and houses. Stay 2 nights, get the 3rd night free through Christmas Day. CNN has called the Wilburton one of the top 8 mansion hotels in America. Call 802-362-2500 or visit wilburtoninn.com for more information.
It's the new year. The to-do list is long and it's easy to feel pulled in many directions at once. Your professional personal shoppers at Walter Stewart's are ready to check groceries off your list by shopping for you. Save extra time this year and spend it doing more important things. Great food and wine delivered to your home with the same-day service. Shop Stewart's online at stewartsmarket.com.
Hi, I'm Rob Adams with my good friend Donald Eng, and we're the home team for Nutmeg Sports, Monday through Wednesday at 2 o'clock right here on the HAN Network. We are the place for all things Connecticut sports, so come hang out with us on Nutmeg Sports. Don? They don't call him the best color man in the game for nothing. Nutmeg Sports, 2 o'clock, Monday through Wednesday, right here on the HAN Network.
It's Monday, January 18th, and this is your coffee break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, and it's time to throw it over to Donald Eng for a look back on this day in history. Don?
Well, Kate, 7 years late, but Arizona finally got with the program. We're going to talk about that in a second, but first we go to 1778. Captain James Cook, the first known European to visit the Hawaiian Islands, which he called the Sandwich Islands after the Earl of Sandwich, who was his naval sponsor. Cook would actually die there the following year when some of the natives were dissatisfied with the exchange of trinkets for food and goods. Took one of the small boats Cook's men had been using to travel back and forth to the ship, moored out in the harbor. Cook responded by attempting to kidnap and ransom their king, King Kalanaʻopu. Cook and 4 of his men would die in the ensuing fight. To 1967. Albert DeSalvo, the so-called Boston Strangler, convicted of numerous crimes, but not the stranglings, sentenced to life in prison. The Boston Strangler murders were a series of 13 killings of women in Boston between 1962 and 1964. They were attributed to DeSalvo based on his confession and some DNA evidence that linked him to one of the murder victims. Since then, other investigators have suggested that the murders were committed by more than one person. DeSalvo was murdered himself in prison in 1973. 1978, the roof of the Hartford Civic Center collapses after a heavy snowfall just hours after the University of Connecticut's men's basketball team had defeated UMass. There were no injuries in the roof collapse, and the heavily renovated building would reopen almost exactly 2 years later on January 17th, 1980. And now, finally, we go to 1993 for this.
In 1968, Martin Luther King was gunned down by a brutal assassin. His life cut short at the age of 39. But those 39 short years had changed America forever. The conscience of America had been touched. Across the land, people had begun to treat each other not as blacks and whites, but as fellow Americans. And in his words, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
As the president left, the audience broke into We Shall Overcome, singing the anthem of the civil rights movement as Mr. Reagan shook hands on his way out.
Well, you heard him singing We Shall Overcome, and on this day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Martin officially overcame. It was on this day that it was first observed in all 50 states. That was President Ronald Reagan officially proclaiming the day a federal holiday, by the way, in 1986. But it wasn't until 1993 that it was observed across the country. The last holdout, Arizona, whose legislature, including John McCain, voted in 1987 not to recognize it. Governor Bruce Babbitt installed the holiday essentially by executive order, but then his successor, who ran for office on a platform of rescinding the holiday, followed through on his promise and took the holiday back. His successor, by the way, Evan Meacham, was later impeached for misuse of state funds. In 1990, 76% of Arizona voters rejected the holiday at referendum, causing the NFL to move the Super Bowl from Tempe to Pasadena, California. Voters finally approved the holiday on this day in 1993, but don't celebrate too much. Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi still officially recognize the holiday as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert E. Lee Day. So the struggle continues. With your look back in history, I am Donald Eng.
All right, thanks so much, Don. Getting back to a little more news today, 2 Norwalk youths were allegedly attacked following a basketball game in Stamford on Friday, leading to the arrest of one Stamford teen, and the police say more arrests are to come. The attack on the Brian McMahon High School students took place after a basketball game between their team at Stamford High School at about 9 o'clock Friday. Police said right after the game, the two Norwalk youths were followed to their car by about 15 to 20 males. They were confronted and asked if they were from Norwalk, and when they said yes, they were viciously attacked by the mob. Both victims were punched and kicked repeatedly, police said. One victim was stabbed on the right side of his chest, and the other sustained a serious dental injury. Both also received many lacerations and bruises from the attack. The two then made their way back to Norwalk and sought treatment at Norwalk Hospital. Police there then contacted Stamford Police and told them of the assault. Stamford Police detectives, along with Stamford High School's school resource officers, began the investigation and quickly determined that the main aggressor of the attack, they say, is 19-year-old Malik Claiborne. After coordinating with prosecutors from Stamford State's Attorney's Office, they were granted a warrant for his arrest on charges of second-degree assault and conspiracy to commit second-degree assault. This morning, Claiborne was found and taken into custody at his home and is being held in lieu of a $25,000 bond. Now, Rob, Stamford and Bryan McMahon are obviously two of the schools we cover in the FCAC. We've interviewed a lot of great students from both schools, so just terrible news to hear.
Yeah, it is, and it continues an unfortunate trend where we're seeing some unsavory behavior, shall we say.
Which should be friendly rivalries, maybe going too far.
Yeah, I think so, Kate. And certainly Norwalk and Stamford not known for being big rivals per se, but right now the basketball emotion's kind of high. Donald Eng will have more on this on Nutmeg Sports later on, and if time allows during this afternoon's hockey broadcast, perhaps John Kovach, maybe Don as well, and I will talk a little more on it, but we'll see. Again, it's a story that we're seeing a little too much of, but in any event, on some happier notes, and we don't often get to do this, we can give you a score in progress outside the FCAC, but it being a holiday, the rinks are taking advantage and opening up to games all day. So there's one hockey score to report, and again, a little out of our area, but from CTHS Hockey, who we consider a friend around here. New Milford and E.O. Smith-Tolland, they are the Bucks. They are tied at 2 after 2 periods of play. I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool to give you a score in progress. We don't often get to do that. Now, over to the weekend. Round 1 in girls hockey goes to the Darien Blue Wave. After the game took a dramatic turn in New Canaan's favor during the third period, Darien senior Georgia Cassidy scored the game winner with 3:21 remaining, giving the Blue Wave a 3-2 decision on Saturday at the Darien Ice Rink. The game left both teams with plenty to be happy about. Darien now 9-1 overall, 8-0 in the FCAC, got the victory. New Canaan drops to 8-1, 6-1, and they delivered a great third period, tying the game at 2 after the Wave had dominated the first 30 minutes, outshooting their rivals 26-4. Credit to Dave Stewart, by the way, for all of this. The two teams will meet again on January 29th. You will see that game right here on the HAN Network. Very excited for that one. That will be good. You see the slate from the other scores. Stanford West Hill Staples knocking off Wilton Norwalk 2-0. Trumbull over Fairfield 3-1. To boys ice hockey, the Fairfield Co-op took care of New Canaan 3-1. How about that? A big win for Fairfield. They're making a lot of noise in the FCAC. Ridgefield and Glastonbury skate to a 1-all tie. Darien knocks off West Hill Stanford 4-1. It was Staples West and Shelton all over Trinity Catholic, and Greenwich beat Trumbull 5-2. And then finally, Adam Usinger had 4 goals as the Cadets beat the Warriors 6-1. We'll see the Cadets on Wednesday as they take on Darien in Shelton. We had girls basketball on the HAN Network Friday night. It was the rematch of the FCAC Championship, and champions, are they still the best for right now, as you'll see in the highlights. From Ridgefield High School, it's high school basketball on the HAN Network, and a good evening to you, everyone. I'm Rob Adams. Happy to have you along. Point Ridgefield lead. Here's Middlebrook, just inside the arc. Good. Julia Middlebrook, and a timeout called by Chris Hernandez, a 5-point lead early on. Off to the far side, very patient, waiting over there is Meg O'Hara. O'Hara for 3, that's strong, but the rebound, Elizabeth Middlebrook off glass, she hits. Made contact with Goleta, but no harm. Playing a little street, they'll go right side Benneville. Benneville fakes the 3, here's Wolf down low, high off glassy, yes.
Great pivot and shot there with a defender draped over her.
Greenwich coming over to the near side. O'Hara feeds it back up top at the free throw line. That is good. Meg O'Hara has 8 points on the night, 50-37. Looking to her right, it's Welton. Welton left hand on the dribble. No look, goes all the way across. O'Hara, left wing foul line extended. She works the perimeter, lobs it down low, and gets it off The battle between 21s, Lawrence and Wolf. Then Lawrence gets it back and puts it home.
And there Greenwich rushes the inbound, trying to catch Ridgefield sleeping, and pays for it.
62-37, Ridgefield on a 14-0 run right now.
That's just nuts.
No complaints, we've had a good time, and have the Ridgefield Tigers. This goes off glass, and they love it. Tinanen getting on the scoreboard with 6, 67-42, with one shot to go for Faison to Wolf, and it's over. A resounding victory for the Ridgefield Tigers tonight. They knock off the Greenwich Cardinals 67-42. Stunning. Solid win for the Ridgefield Tigers on Friday night. Jess Camarda led the Tigers with 19 points. They cruised to that 67-42 win over Greenwich. Shea Galetta led Greenwich with 15 points. Elsewhere, so much to talk about, and I don't want to take too much time away. Darien winning over Staples in gymnastics. In wrestling, they had the Coulter Abley Midseason Classic at Xavier High School. Chase Lind got a win in 160 pounds for Fairfield Ludlow. Billy Stapleton first at 285. New Canaan with a win over Harding. New Canaan also over Platt Tech. Jonathan Law beat New Canaan. They often play these dual meets, so you understand how that goes. New Canaan beat Massac. East Haven over Darien. St. Bernard beat Darien. Darien over Enfield. Darien over East Lyme. Maloney beat Darien. Yes, again, these are all legit. To boys basketball, the schedule. They are playing the Classic down at the Webster Bank Arena today. 4 games, including 1 FCIAC game. It's Bridgeport Central and Wilbur Cross. That's a 5 p.m. tip down at the arena. Girls basketball, Stamford at Immaculate Conception in New Jersey. That's a 2 o'clock game. Boys ice hockey, Xavier and New Canaan at the Darien Ice Rink. That could be a good one there. Go to that one. That's at 2. Norwalk McMahon against Wilton at the Winter Garden. Darien and Greenwich. Marquee game. We would love to be there. The infrastructure is not there for us to broadcast from, thus our disappointment that we can't bring you that top matchup, but please understand that's what's going on. We will follow it as closely as we can. The game we are calling, though, and I'm excited to see it, is Trumbull and Massac at the rinks at Shelton. We haven't been to the rinks at Shelton, so I'm excited for that, and it's 2 schools we haven't had a chance to see. That's 4 o'clock. It'll be a solid matchup right here on the HAN network. Girls ice hockey, Trumbull and Daniel Hand at the Northford Ice Pavilion. In wrestling, Mount Anthony of Vermont at Danbury at 6. Girls gymnastic, Ludlow and Trumbull at Ward. Wilton is at Greenwich. That's everything. Sorry to take too much of your time with sports. I'm Rob Adams. Kate, back over to you. Don will see you for Nutmeg at 2. I'll see you for hockey at 4.
Great. All right. Thanks so much, Rob. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, recap some of the top stories we're following today after this.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. The construction is incredible, whether it's the floors, the fireplace, the moldings, the lighting. It's as peaceful as my home was in the middle of the woods. It feels like a house. It does not feel like a condo or a townhome. I feel like I'm in my house.
Find over 1,000 special stories at Hospital for Special Surgery. Go to hss.edu/backinthegame.
I was jogging 5 months after my cartilage tear.
Skiing a year after hip surgery.
And playing grandma 4 weeks after hip replacement.
One special hospital, 1,000 special stories. See Connecticut patients at hss.edu/CT.
I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a high school football coach. I'm a television presenter. And I want you to love fishing as much as I do. Tune in to Yankee Fisherman, Thursdays at 1 on the HAN network. It's like going to the tackle shop without leaving your office.
You are watching the HAN network, and you're not alone. Nearly 500,000 viewers enjoyed our broadcasts in the first 5 months. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network. You are watching.
And we're back on this Monday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. I'm Kate Czaplinski, recapping some of the top stories we're following today. Monroe police are looking for suspects that allegedly robbed teenagers at gunpoint last Thursday. A Monroe resident was out walking his dog in the area of Abbey Lane and Sweet Briar Lane shortly before 8 at night when he came across two youths that reported they had just been robbed. The victim described the suspect as black males wearing dark clothing and hoodies covering their heads. One male was described as about 5 feet 3 inches tall with an average build, and the other male described as approximately 6 feet tall, also with an average build. The victims were walking home from a friend's house when they were approached by the suspects from behind. One of those suspects displayed a handgun, and the youths were ordered to the ground and told to empty their pockets and hand over their backpacks. Suspects were seen leaving in a small dark sedan, and detectives are continuing with their investigation. They're also asking anyone with information to contact their tip line at 203-452-2839. And North Haven police say a young wife was killed after getting into an accident while riding an all-terrain vehicle in North Haven. The 23-year-old West Haven woman struck a tree around 1 in the afternoon Sunday in a wooded area near the North Haven and Wallingford town line. Investigators say the woman was ejected from the vehicle. She was riding ATVs at the time with her husband when the crash occurred. WTIC-TV reports the accident occurred adjacent to the Quinnipiac River in the sand pits between Dodge Avenue and Tolles Road. Paramedics treated the victim on the scene and transported her to an area hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. And late Sunday morning, a 3-car crash spilled fluids all over White Plains Road in Trumbull. The Trumbull Volunteer Fire Company reports that at about 11:55 yesterday, Trumbull Center Fire was dispatched to White Plains Road at Twitchgrass Road for a motor vehicle accident fluid spill. All occupants were able to safely get out of their vehicles, and fire crews were able to clean up the spill and leave the scene in the hands of the Trumbull police. And the state has approved permits for 3 new medical marijuana dispensaries, 2 in Milford and 1 in Waterbury. Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection Commissioner Jonathan Harris said that currently there are 8,228 medical marijuana patients registered in the state. Dispensary facilities are the only places in Connecticut that may legally dispense medical marijuana to those registered patients. To register with the program, a patient's physician must certify that they have one of 11 approved conditions and that the potential benefits from the use of medical marijuana will outweigh the risks. Harris said with the addition of these 3 new dispensary facilities, the state's medical marijuana program will be better able to meet the needs of the almost 2,000 patients in Fairfield County and the 2,141 patients in New Haven County. The new dispensaries are located on West River Road in Milford, another one will be on East Aurora Street in Waterbury, and the third will be located on New Haven Avenue in Milford. All are expected to be ready to begin serving patients by the early summer. And in some other news, both Republican and Democratic presidential primaries in Connecticut are scheduled for Tuesday, April 26, and to participate, people must be registered with the party or candidate they want to support or oppose soon. If people now registered in one party want to switch and vote in the presidential primary of the other party, they have to have changed parties at least 3 months before the voting. That date would be tomorrow, next week, Tuesday, January 26th. On Thursday, April 21st is the mail-in and online deadline for new voters or unaffiliated voters to join a political party in order to vote in that party's presidential primary election. You can get more information on how to switch parties if you need to at voterregistration.ct.gov. And of course, as we mentioned, it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Many of our communities are celebrating the legacy of Dr. King with ceremonies. One of those celebrations will be happening today at the Ridgefield Playhouse. The town of Ridgefield will present its 20th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration with a special performance by the Voices' Luke Wade and the annual Spirit of Dr. King Award going to Elaine and Kevin Cox. The event begins at 3 o'clock today at the Ridgefield Playhouse. It's free to the community and will also feature performances by the Ridgefield Chorale, Deborah Catchco-Gray, and the TSI Singers, as well as some others. You can get more information on that at theridgefieldpress.com. Going to throw it over to Rob Adams for one final look at today's weather. Rob?
All right, Kate, a partly sunny day, a high near 29 with wind chill values between 10 and 15 and the wind out of the northwest from 15 to 17 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 15. Wind chill again, very cold, 5 to 10. West wind 11 to 14. Tuesday, wind chills between 0 and 10, mostly sunny, high 28. Northwest wind 13 to 18 will gust as high as 29. Mostly clear and 17 tomorrow night. Stays cold, wind chills low. Wednesday, sunny, a high near 34. Thursday, mostly sunny, high 33. To Friday, partly sunny, a high near 30 degrees. Trumbull staying steady at 24. Monroe, we'll see those Massac players later today. They're at 25. And at Shelton, right here, 23. I'm looking forward to hockey today. It's going to be fun. See you at 4 o'clock for that. And, of course, Nutmeg Sports at 2 with Don. Kate.
All right. Thanks so much, Rob. Well, that's going to do it for this Monday edition of your Coffee Break on the HAN Network. We'll be back tomorrow at 11. Have a great Monday, everyone.